Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. I am so excited to share a little bit about what's happening with the workbook launch. I know I've talked about it on the past few episodes, but it's out in the world. It's doing great things. It is getting some great feedback and reviews from people. I just wanted to read you one of these. Your Journey to Visibility workbook is such a powerful resource for anyone ready to take ownership of their career story. Drawing from thousands of coaching conversations, Susan provides a step-by-step guide to help you reflect on what's been holding you back, clarify what makes you unique, and take confident action toward the opportunities you deserve. What I love most is how approachable and actionable it is. It's not just theory. It's a roadmap filled with practical tools, templates, and reflection prompts that make visibility feel authentic and doable. If you've ever struggled with self-doubt or wondered how to better communicate your value, this workbook will help you see and show yourself in a whole new light. So that's exactly what I was hoping people would see, is that they can take ownership of their career journey and start to do something different than they've done before and be recognized and noticed for it. So now I'm able to show both books, The Visibility Factor and the new book, Your Journey to Visibility Workbook. So if you haven't had a chance to check either of them out, The Visibility Factor really helps you understand what visibility is, why it's important, what can get in the way, like imposter syndrome, and helps you walk through a 4-part process to understand your visibility and what you can do with it. And the workbook is meant to help you learn how to show that visibility, how to speak about the things that you're doing, create the narrative that you have about yourself, the unique things that you have to offer, and be able to show people that you're ready for that next step. So both books are complementary to each other, and I think you'll get a lot out of both of them. If you have copies of either of my books, I would love it if you leave a review. It's so helpful to get the book in front of more people, and that's really the goal, right? Is to get as many people to read the books and to start to implement what I'm teaching into their own careers and start to make a difference for themselves. So I wanted to read that review with you because the line in there about taking ownership of your career is so important. And I find when I'm working with clients that there are definitely opportunities for them to be doing that in a bigger way. And I wanted to share some examples and ideas for you to be able to do that for yourself if you're not doing it already. So let's use an example where you might have a situation where your boss is leaving the company or takes another role, and you feel like you're the person who should be getting that role. You should be considered for that. But instead, they go outside the company and hire someone else or look to another person within the company to fill the role instead. Well, of course, that's a bit devastating and frustrating. First of all, you don't understand why you haven't been considered. And second of all, you're trying to figure out what should you have done differently to maybe let people know. So in my own case, I found that I was not necessarily communicating enough about what I wanted to do next. And as I've mentioned before on the podcast, I had a bit of an accidental career. I lucked out into some roles, and in other roles, I was placed in them. Even though I didn't think that they were a perfect fit for me, I learned so much by doing them. So I think we have to have some clarity for ourselves, and that's one of the frameworks in the workbook is the career clarity framework, which allows you to start to think about what do you need your new role to have? What is a need and what is a nice to have? And what are the things that you would consider a deal breaker that you would never consider doing? And so you have to spend a little time doing that in advance of having these conversations about your role so that you're prepared with the clarity that you can then share it in the best way with others. Because I believe that people really want to help you, but they can't help you if they don't have an understanding of what it is you want to do. So clarity can look like, I would like to be considered for the senior director role in this department, but let's say you don't have that much clarity about the roles that are out there and what's available. Well, then you can say, I'm looking for a role that has team leadership, where I'm working on transformational programs, where I have an opportunity to influence and make my own decisions, where I have an opportunity to sit on the executive team. So you can be specific in that way where you start to lay out some of the things that you really want in a role, even if it doesn't have a specific role attached to it, because it gives people insights into what you want to do. And then you can always talk about your strengths, the things that you're really known for. Maybe you are someone who turns around teams and gets them to come together as one, or you might be really good and known for developing people and getting them promoted. So there's probably a number of strengths that you have, but we want to pick maybe the top 3 and be able to talk about those when you're in these conversations and moments where people are asking for what you may want to do next. I do believe people want to help you, but they can't do that if you're not clear for yourself about what you want to do next. So that's one place that I think is an opportunity. The second is where things are not working in the best way, meaning that the organization is in flux. There's a lot of change happening. There may be a little bit of chaos happening. And what can you do to move things forward, even though that's occurring? There are times when people get a bit paralyzed by chaos and change, and they don't know what to do. And so the expectation is, of course, that a leader is going to step up and do something. That someone at the highest level in the organization is going to make decisions, and then those decisions are going to filter down to everyone else, and we'll all know what to do. Well, it doesn't always happen that way. So I can use an example of my own where in the merger situation, we had a very finite amount of time that we needed to work through to get this done in order to meet the dates for all of the approvals that needed to happen at the government level and on the board. And so we had to start making decisions sooner than later. And I think it's always ideal, right, to have as much information as possible to make a decision, have the data, have the inputs, have other examples that you can use to follow. But sometimes that's not always there. And I've had a couple of situations in the last 2 weeks where someone came to me and said, I don't know what to do. No one's making a decision and my team feels stuck. And I said, what if you just make the decision? If no one else is making it, what happens if you make the decision? What's the worst that can happen? At least you figure out more steps to move forward, and maybe you make a shift after that. But not doing anything isn't serving your team and the rest of the organization. And sometimes I think people just get paralyzed. And so I do have compassion for people at a senior leadership level. They are making really big decisions that can have a huge impact on the organization and the people in it. But at some point, there are decisions that do have to be made to be able to move forward and to meet timelines that are expected. So if decisions are being held up, that just increases that timeline and it makes those things impossible to get done and move forward. And then the third one is understanding that there are things that are going to happen in your role, in your company, in your group that are out of your control. And all you can do is ask yourself, what can I do? What's in my control right now? So whenever those situations happen, when things are out of control, what do I know? What don't I know? And who do I need to talk to that can help me understand and find information? It allows you to take a step. It allows you to do something. And that simple momentum, that simple imperfect action that you're taking allows you to think of things, allows you to come up with ideas that you hadn't thought of before, allows you to maybe think of someone that could help you who's maybe done it before and learn from them. So I see many leaders taking on this burden all by themselves. They feel like they have to be the one to solve all the problems, that they have to have all the answers, that there's no one they can reach out to for help. That isn't true. And especially when things are feeling a bit chaotic, it's natural to feel a bit paralyzed, to feel like you just want someone else to come in and solve the problem. And that would be ideal, of course, unless it's not the answer that you want. But that's not always what happens. And that's why I feel like this is an opportunity to really step into your leadership in a bigger way, to show people what you can do under pressure, that you can be the calm, composed one that others really wish that they could be, or that others look up to because they need someone to be that leader. So why not you? Why not you? Why are you waiting for someone else to do it for you? You have complete ability to make changes, to make decisions, to move things forward. So many people I work with feel like they can't. They feel like they don't have the ability to make that decision on their own, that someone else has to make it for them. And I want to empower you. I want to give you a huge permission slip right now. Look around you and see what decisions can you make. Maybe it's not the biggest decision, but is it the next step that helps you move forward? What if just answering those 3 questions I just gave you helps you move forward? I hope that this gives you some ideas of how you can start to take charge of your career, how you can have conversations about what you want to do, and how you can move things forward when you feel stuck. So a lot of the frameworks that I've built in the workbook are enabling people to be able to make decisions, to move forward, to try something, to understand where they are in their career and figure out if there's something they want to do differently or if they're holding themselves back where they just didn't even realize it before. So take some of these examples that I've shared here today and move yourself in a direction that helps you feel motivated, helps you feel the momentum of doing something, whether that's making a decision, getting feedback, understanding what kind of clarity you can have for your career. Taking charge of your career and stepping into being a bigger leader means really standing up to moments that are challenging, whether that is making a decision when no one will make it, having career clarity for yourself, understanding the feedback that you might get and what to do with it, or just finding a way to ask yourself some questions to move yourself forward so that you can make a decision. You can tell other people what they need to do next. It is a gift to be a leader, and I don't know that everyone appreciates it all the time, and I know it's challenging for sure, but you have the ability to make decisions in a moment when maybe no one else will, for yourself, for your team, and for the company. If you know someone else who could benefit by hearing this episode, share it with them so that they can learn these same lessons that you're learning for yourself. So feel free to share it. I would love it if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one.